Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Cheers to those of you that have your beers. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. Alright, so what do you guys got planned for this weekend? Me, personally, I got an engine stab that I got to do in a Jeep Grand Cherokee. If you guys haven't already seen it, I'll show you a clip up here in the corner somewhere of when we pulled it out and how it was like. I thought it was hydro-locked, but in fact there was a piston that was binding. So tomorrow my plan is to kind of restab it, and then I'll show you what the catastrophic failure was. That being said, today's topic is going to be the 5 unwritten facts about being a mechanic that you might not be aware of. Maybe you are, but there's 5 unwritten facts that not really a lot of people talk about. We're going to talk about them today. Now, I know there's probably a handful more of unwritten facts of being a mechanic. There's a lot of things that you just will have to wait until you're in the industry in order to find out for yourself, but I'm going to cover some of them with you guys today. Alright, starting the list off with number 1. You're going to want to stay flexible. We're talking like Gumby flexible. I might be a little bit older than most of you watching, but those of you that are around my same age or slightly older, you'll know what I'm talking about when I'm referring to Gumby. Anywho, you're going to want to be flexible. Flex Armstrong, Gumby, just think of the most rubberastic, being that you've ever met. Mr. Fantastic, if you will. Your body's going to go through the ringer. You're going to have some back pain. You're going to end up having to be a contortionist. You're going to be twisted upside down in somebody's dash on their stinky floorboard with their soda and bubble gum and dog hair and filth, and it's going to smell like nasty, sweaty gym socks, and it's just going to be all kinds of good times fun for you and your body. So my recommendation would be do a little bit of light stretching in the morning after you've had your morning coffee and dropped the kids off at the pool or had your morning glory, and then simply do some light stretches before you go into all that is glorious about being a mechanic, because your body will thank you for it later, and you might even thank me for giving you the tip and suggestion. Speaking about flexibility, we're going to go into number 2. Flexible in general, because you're going to have cars that come in, and whether you're working at a dealership, an independent shop, or even a lube and tire shop, there's going to be a lot of demand as far as having you work on multiple things at the same exact time. You might have one designated bay, or you might have 2 designated bays, but either way, let's say you have one designated bay, maybe you're doing a water pump on it, and then next thing you know, you have a recall that came in for an airbag, so you have to pull in behind yourself, do the airbag recall, then you might have a software update that you've got to do to it. All the while the software update is taking place, you might have another vehicle next to it where you're doing a PDI, trying to get that banged out for the day, only to jump back to the water pump that you were on. At the independent world, you might have a cylinder head job that you're doing on one, but then all of a sudden you got an oil change, transmission fluid and filter service, and then you got a tire rotation on another one, which leads to brakes, and then you're doing brakes, and while you're waiting for rotors to turn, you might have to jump back to the cylinder head job to take stuff off. So you gotta stay flexible in general, because not only is it physically demanding, but the cars are demanding. You got a lot of demand to have cars fixed, and people want to fix in a timely manner. So that'll be number 2. Number 3, you're going to either want or you're going to be required to have your own personal set of tools at some point as you go up the pay scale. So borrowing will only get you so far. We've talked about this in past videos. I'm sure you've heard it from other people in past videos. Some people are chill and they'll let you borrow just about anything. But when does chill become a point to where it's affecting you and your job? So as you're working on a car, say you got a new guy that just started, doesn't have any tools yet, and I don't know, he grabs your 10mm, right? One of the most common size sockets that you have. Maybe you don't have 2 or 3 sets of 10mm 1/4 inch deep and shallow sockets for him just to borrow whichever one he wants because you have an extra. Maybe you've only got 1 set of deep and shallow metric sockets in 1/4 inch, and you just so happen to need the one that he had to borrow. This can be frustrating because now you're either A, having to borrow from somebody else, or B, asking them, are you done with it, so you can go back to working on your car because you really needed it in one specific area. So as you move up the pay scale, it'll be a requirement for you at that job because they're going to require you to have your own tools, especially if they're going to pay you more. Now, what I think that did me a huge service and justice was while I was in community college, they actually had a tool requirement list that you had to have, or you had to either rent a set from them while you were going through school. Since I figured that it cost me, I think it was about $75 per month to borrow the tools from the tool program, or I can use the $75 and apply it to, let's say, a master set from Craftsman or something like that, and then I'd have all the sockets and wrenches that I needed, etc. So at some point, you're going to want to buy your own tool set. That'd be number 3. Number 4, technology is forever changing. So outside of staying educated and keeping up with the times as far as repairs go, you're also going to have to keep up with the types of tools that you're going to need, because manufacturers change fasteners like, people change underwear. It's ridiculous. You go out, it used to be SAE, then it was metric, then it was metric and SAE, and they started incorporating triple squares, E-Torx, Torx bits, spline drive, turbo Torx. Next thing in tamper Torx. You got so many different styles of sockets and fastener variations that you're going to need and be required to have on the job, that eventually your socket drawer is going to need to be 40 to 56 inches long just to fill it up with all the required sockets to do your job. So specialty tools, you're going to run into a lot of situations where you need specialty tools, because without having them, you can't take it apart. Honda's a prime example. They have a special crank tool, which I actually took to work because I was doing a water pump timing belt on a Honda yesterday and needed it. So I had to take it to work, so I had it for the job. Ended up coming home at lunch and grabbing it. Couldn't find the one that we had at the shop. I think it was just put in the wrong drawer or something like that. Anyway, that's just to give you an example. Talking about how technology changes and some of the repair requirements that you're going to have to do. You might have, like I had a timing belt today on a 2003 Nissan Xterra, and you had to use a feeler gauge, and I believe it was like something like, I don't know, 5/10 of a gap of deflection that you needed between the tensioner and the belt. Which was on all data. That was what you had to have. So using a feeler gauge and using the 7mm Allen, you had to kind of roll the tensioner just to a certain degree in order to get the correct tightening for the tension. Otherwise, bad things can happen to the engine. Thank God I had some help. Joey, you the man, thanks for helping out with that. I was having some struggle trying to get the timing marks and everything lined up. He helped out quite a bit, and he found actually better information on the computer than I was able to find. Mine was a little bit finicky, an overall review, if you will. All right, last but not least, number 5, everybody's mechanic. So as soon as people find out that you know how to work on cars, or that you got a job working on cars, or that you've got your schooling on working on cars, they're going to want you to work on their car. They're going to, friends, family, relatives, kids, they're all going to want you to work on their own car, and it's going to happen on either the most inconvenient time, or B, while it's your day off. Because let's face it, I don't personally like working on cars on my day off. Sometimes I do. It depends on, how much of a gap I've actually had. If I've had like 3 weeks where I've been able to rest and recuperate, and then all of a sudden I have a weekend where I choose to work on a car on a Saturday, it's by my choice. But I don't go out of my way to work on cars when it's my time off. That's all I got for this video. This was my top 5. Now I know there's other unwritten rules to being a mechanic, and maybe some of them I didn't cover in this video. Please feel free to share it in the comments. Let me know what I missed and didn't cover, and maybe we'll make another video about this. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you guys next time. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Cheers and deuces.